Hey, good morning, everyone. I am in the book of 2 Samuel, and I am reading chapters 10 through 12 today. The message overall is about battling the broken and the brave. In these chapters, God shows us how to lead, how we fall, and how we come back. So it's like you fell down and you bounce back with the help of God. So we're going to dive into that. Now in chapter 10, David, he shows kindness to Hanan, but it's met with suspicion. There's a war that broke out because of misjudgment. And Joab is about to go into war and says, "Be courageous, let us fight bravely for our people and the cities of God." Joab encourages the others with faith in God's will, despite the odds they are up against. And he stated, "And may the Lord's will be done." Now, with Joab and them being in war, it could equate to how sometimes you wake up and you feel like you're already in a fight, whether you're battling anxiety, whether you're battling self-doubt, temptations, or just the pressure to perform. This is a heavy performance society, and you just have the weight of the world on you. Like, I just got to show up. But just remember, like Joab, you've got to say, I'm going to show up. Even if it's hard, you got to trust God with the outcome. He didn't know what he was up against. There was thousands and thousands of warriors, and he had his faith in God. Then we go to chapter 11, and things get a little quiet. Instead of David going to battle, he was the giant slayer, so we know he's fully equipped to fighting. He stays home when he should have been out there in war like all his soldiers were fighting, and instead he was distracted. He starts scrolling just like we do in 2025. David had a moment on the rooftop, and he ended up sleeping with a married woman and getting her pregnant. This could very well look like a DM slide on IG. That late night text, hey big head, Instead of killing your flesh or taking your flesh and laying these temptations and the things that you struggle with to the feet of God, he fed into his flesh and it starved his purpose. Let's get real. Like, have you ever been there before? I know I have. I've definitely allowed something that I really wanted so bad to make me dive deep into my flesh and entertain something that was in the past, and bring it into the present. Even DM slides, honey. Like, y'all can go back and look at my other videos on my YouTube. Yep, DM slides have gotten to me several times. He even allowed him getting another married woman pregnant. He even allowed that to fuel him to kill her husband, who was at war in battle for his kingdom. Just really tacky. And it just goes to show how one little thing that we think is just so minuscule, like, oh, it's just a small sin, that could ricochet and it could become a snowball effect into something so much grander, so much larger. Suddenly, a situation that you thought was just a simple moment of entertainment because you're lonely, because you're bored, it's just a response. It's harmless, and next thing you know, it turned into a whole hot mess. This is why we have to protect our eyes. We have to protect our ears. That's why we have to stay deep in our word, because these distractions are placed there for a reason. And that's exactly what happened to David. But God didn't leave him there. He sends Nathan, who is a prophet and a friend of his, to encourage and just tell him the truth. Now, he did it in riddle. He did it in a way where, I'm going to tell you this, but I'm really telling you about yourself, and I want to see how you react. And David was like off with his head. Like, oh, if somebody stole or took from someone, then yeah, he needs to be killed. But then Nathan flips it back on him and was like, oh, I was really talking about you. Dun, dun, dun. David doesn't hide the fact that he sinned. He laid down the sin at God's feet. And it's so important to do because we're not perfect. We're flawed individuals. We can't blame others for the stress that was placed on us, or the position. You have to confess the sin and the role that you played and lay it down at God's feet. Nathan said that the Lord had forgiven him. Nathan the prophet spoke and told him, well, the Lord forgives you, because he confessed his sin and he showed humility. Now, the grace of God isn't just for the innocent. It's for the honest. It's for those that are repenting, that want to change their ways, that are aware that they made a mistake, and that are like, okay, that wasn't me. I had a moment, and Lord, please forgive me. Now, in 2025, we live in a cancel culture, but God operates with the quick comeback culture, okay? You can't put him in a box. You can't put him in a label, and he is not falling in with cultural standards. He creates his own standards. So yes, there will be consequences when you make sins and when you make mistakes and you sin, but God still chose David. He still brought Solomon from that story. And if God can bring wisdom from David's worst mistake, he can redeem yours too. So whether you're in the battle, the mistake, or the middle of the comeback, you have to remember that it's important to be courageous like Joab, be honest like David, and be hopeful, because grace is still your portion. So when you fall into grace. God's not done with your story. He's just getting started. I pray this message helps someone, and if it did, leave a comment and share and like with someone else. You all have a beautiful day.
Running out of breeze, spinning through identity, reveal another pretty little scheme.